Well, here we are. We made it. Let me pull John in now, running crazy, getting here. John said he heard the sigh when I sat down. We are here. Welcome. I have my sweaty sweatshirt on here, John. We've been sprinting, but we are here today talking UFL Week 2. Was really 50-50 on if this was going to happen today or not. John and I will get into more of that later. So things going on around the league right now. My demeanor is changing. We'll see. We'll get to it. That could be a tease for later. We'll talk through, the week 2 here. We have Mike Mitchell's TV ratings from Friday. We have attendance. We'll talk through all the games, and then we'll do all that because I know people come here for football first and foremost, and then we'll get through all that. But we'll see. Episode next week, we'll see. Do I have lint on my hat? We're doing the best we can.
You're clean,
John,
man. You're good.
How are you, John? Welcome to the show. John Lewis Sports. I even tagged you on the YouTube description today. So people hopefully can find your channel. How are you, sir?
So kind. I'm doing well, man. We've made it through 2 weeks here. And it's funny, something I was thinking about today. We have not had any talks about labor strife. It's like that issue kind of went away. I'm still wondering, what's going on with that. But I don't want to start on a negative point here. We saw some good football this week. We saw some bad football this week. That's what the UFL is.
Yeah, I was going to say, did we see good football, John? I mean, I don't want to start there. I had a lot of fun because really, truly, we're busy Friday, Saturday. I'm trying to catch up. Was able to sit and watch the games yesterday, text with you, text with the group chat. And that does kind of excite me. This is why I do this. I'm serious. It is very much, I don't get a lot of it, as I'm sure you as well, talking with the wife about the games and stuff. So when I'm able to talk with like the boys, and you and Mike and Pat, kind of gets me more excited about all that. But Abdul here says, is your demeanor going to go from bad to absolute joke? Stay tuned. That is a spoiler, and this is real actionable stuff. Yeah, John, I guess we'll do Mike's breaking news here first, but can you grade UFL Week 2 here? Week 1 came off a little short. We talked through TV ratings last week. You can go back and football gameplay and all of that. I'm still fighting the cold. I apologize for that. What did you make grade-wise of, UFL Week 2?
I mean, I give it a solid C, and only because there was an F game or two here, but there was, there were some A games as well. So, I mean, I think when you've got, I don't want to say a top heavy league because I don't know that there's a clear favorite right now. I know St. Louis is playing the best football so far in 2 weeks here. And we know who's playing the worst, and it's Houston. I mean, that's no secret. But it feels like of those other 7, even with Memphis being 0-2, that is it's a completely different team. They're so much better. So I just think it's exciting right now. So, I mean, when I say C, that was it an average week? I mean, maybe, but I'm like kind of optimistic on this could be a more of an open. It's not top heavy. I think there are 7 contenders in this league, at least after week 2.
Yeah, and I have a couple comments here to kind of help drive the discussion today. I have an email as well from Fourth and Long on the altfootball.com. Just a quick plug for that, altfootball.com for all your CFL and UFL and arena stuff. Obviously, a lot of UFL stuff right now, but I'll pull that up later as well to kind of gauge our discussions around that. And I think I have a couple bookmarks saved as well. Are you sensing the apathy, the fan apathy that seems to be able? I'll pull Mike's article up here to kind of gauge that. But, down a little bit over last week. We were underwhelmed by the Friday night kickoff last week overall, and then this week down even over that.
Well, right now, if I'm not mistaken, the women's NCAA tournament, it was having almost record ratings. I mean, nothing will probably beat last year, but it was right up there. I think top 3 or 4. So when you're going up against that, you're going up against the Final Four. And to be honest with you, one of the games, I think it was the DC game, was going up against the Final Four, and that was my second screen. My second screen was the UFL game, and my main screen was the Final Four. But I think that's why we're going to start seeing some, hopefully better ratings, especially on Friday night, because this third week to me is going to be pivotal. As far as ratings goes, because there's no major competition that I've seen in the sports world.
Well, and sorry not to jump on there.
No.
that is my concern. And I made the joke on Twitter, but on the Sunday game, it was, that dreadful Arlington Renegades and Roughnecks going up against, Alexander Ovechkin's, who broke the NHL all-time scoring record. Obviously East Coast game, midday Sunday game for the NHL here, even going up against, and that's when I tweeted out, we hear all this all the time. Well, why the UFL do this, or why St. Louis open this day, or what? Like, you could schedule a game for noon Eastern on a Sunday, and you're like, how could you ever know that you're going up against, the greatest sport feat of this time? We kind of lived through LeBron's thing, and then this, there'll be other things, but you really can't avoid it, kind of no matter where you go there. Yeah, 659,000 viewers on that, down from 690 the week before. This weekend, John, will be WrestleMania weekend. I know that. We were talking about things going up against, so obviously not on traditional cable that way. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not trying to call you up.
No, I didn't. I forgot about
next weekend. Excuse me, next weekend.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, I mean, so that's something too. No, you're right. It's just that wasn't a huge surprise to see it go down. At least the bottom didn't drop out. But next week, it's got to be better than this on a Friday night.
Yeah, and this is my concern, and we were talking about all this even before we got on here. Spring League championship game, midday, Fox Saturday drew 450,000 viewers for the championship game. So to put in context of what a Brian Woods run out of his garage with Cardboard Box Football League drew that. So. So to me, when and I agree with all this, you want it to be up, you don't want it to be down, but all that, but Fox Friday is just, there's just numbers built into this. These diary, the Nielsen, everything is not exact on that. I mean, I used to work and I tell all this for people that did not maybe follow through last season. I used to work in local news. I worked in Bakersfield, California. We were a small market news town. John knows very well. John has worked in local news, knows very well. And our station would live and die off of diaries that people would fill out in journals that they would literally write in. I watched NBC this day. And so, the week before the books came in, you'd run a lot of stuff and hope that the last thing people thought about was just, my point is, it's not an exact science. I think Fox bakes in a base number on this and will go up. I cannot imagine that is an insightful look on that, but who am I to say? I think going down week 1 to week 2, week 1 is always going to be your peak, I think, in that. And my last thought is, as you said here in week 3 and 4, maybe the competition opens up, but my feeling is at that point, the audience has lost the product, right? We saw this in USFL season 1, peaked really high in 22. We talked a lot about the poor gameplay, the rush training camps and all of that. The rest of the games that first weekend weren't very good, and the ratings were never able to recover, because when you get the most amount of your people to sample the product, especially in these leagues like we saw this weekend, where you have a lot of low scoring affairs, you're not going to get them to come back time and time again.
Yeah, that's true. And Abdul brings up a good point too. Masters this weekend. So if there's some competition, it would be that, because there are a lot of times that even the casual fans, like Ovechkin, I'm not an NHL fan, but I was keeping my eye on that as well. And then Masters is one of those events that brings in anyone who's halfway interested in sports. But you're right, and that's my concern when we saw the schedule come out, and you and I talked about it on here, is, do you really want to start off this new franchise Friday night thing at Houston and then follow it up at Michigan? Because the optics are not going to be good. You hope the gameplay is good so people will buy in, but I'm not sure they did. But again, the UFL I think they've done a really good job with advertising and trying to get the word out, not just nationally but also in some of these communities. I don't know why it's not connecting in some, but I will say what we need to see Friday from Fox especially is there's not going to be major competition at 8:00 Eastern time. So again, those numbers have to pop up some.
Last thing for me on this, and just we'll do some more because I do want to get to football.
Yeah.
Excuse me here before we get out to all this. But one thing I was kind of pleased about, and of course I had it pinned and then I deleted it. Let me pull it back on here. But I was kind of, I was watching the game yesterday and John was laughing and he goes, man, you're really on the heater with all these tweets. I go, why this is a really busy time. We didn't even know if we were doing the show today. I got to fly to Orlando tomorrow for work all week. And then we are going for pleasure next week to Vegas and WrestleMania and all that. It's a busy time. I do the best I can, but I'm watching the game yesterday and I see, we're interviewing Luis Perez. They're showing the highlights of the beer snake. They not only talked about Luis Perez in the game. We have like an interstitial with him on the commercial break. We've been talking about the book, and then obviously the football is played in the spring. And I just said, I love Luis Perez. I love the beer snake. I love the UFL's football that's played in the spring, but we need some other ideas here. I was, didn't even think about Jordan Rogers like that. So, hey, Jordan Rogers, part of the broadcast team and all that. Like, I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will be liking any of my tweets anytime soon, but I will take the estranged Jordan Rogers on that. But I do like, again, and this isn't week 2 of, this is like this year 2 now. And we're trying to get people, I don't know. To me, it just feels like that we've got 4 bullet points that we can talk about betting the Lions with Aaron on ESPN and all that. We'll do the individual games. But to me right now as a casual, I would really have, if I was a casual, I would have a hard time recommending someone to go watch one of these games. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you and I talked last week about the Fox presentation. Kurt Menefee busted a Dean Cain instead of Deion Cain's, like we have Superman out there. I mean, and it's just like, I don't think the presentation is that great. I love Joel Klatt. Like Joel Klatt to me, not only is he, and we've said it before, it's like you learn things from him. He's also doing cleanup duty, trying to correct what Kurt Menefee continues to say on these Fox broadcasts. And as our man Tanner there said in the comments, he said destroyer. Someone get to Connor Onion, who I love the guy, but it's destroying. It's not. Kept calling him destroyer. There was that, it's like, what are you trying to sell to a casual fan right now? Because this past week, like I said, it was kind of a C average. So if you're watching that football, especially if you tune into the Arlington game, I mean, that was kind of a televised abortion there for about 3 quarters until it, kind of picked up in the 4th quarter. So it's like, it's hard to kind of sell those kinds of things to casual fans, especially ones who are trying to fill a football need. And then it's like, oh, well, the NFL's over. I'm going to give this a try. And it's, it's a little slow out of the gate for now. If you were watching, you did watch that, the Battlehawks game, if you found it on FS1 after the NASCAR race. You saw you saw a St. Louis team that plays really well. So, I mean, that was some high caliber football from them.
Let's say here, just real quick, Foosball fan, I'm becoming a member. I think was a member, joined back up here. Remember, 99 cents a month goes to support the channel for all that. Yeah, because Gladiator Dog, I wish you would get too busy covering the UFL. Gladiator Dog, I'll show you the $24, I think, in YouTube AdSense we got versus what I billed to fly overnight to Miami last week for work. And we will decide which is the better use. I will tell you what my wife thinks, especially with her friend getting married in France this year. So we have a lot of I have to work. We're planning the 40th birthday party for my wife. John, it's really like my full-time job is just supporting my wife a little bit right now. A little bit. Yeah. It's good.
That's how it should be. Come on.
It's good. All right. So let's talk through all this. We'll get comments, and then I do have a rant at the end. So I promise for all of that stuff. Panthers, Stallions. Stallions come back here Friday night, Ford Field. And let's do this. Let's talk through the games, and we'll bounce back and forth with Mike's attendance here because I don't want to do all that. But I do have a comment on this in a minute. What did you make of this game, Ford Field hosting Friday night?
Well, there were 10,000 people there. I mean, that's the official thing we got, right? Did you see 10,000 people in the stands?
There is not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I just thought. When your kicker is your offense there for a while and your starting quarterback goes out in the, first quarter, it's like, oh, what is this going to be? And then Matt Corral started to kind of get hot there in the second half, which there are a lot of naysayers there. They were ready to bench Alex. A lot of Stallions fans were ready to bench Alex Magoo after that game last week. And frankly, it's like that argument gets bolstered after what you saw out of Matt Corral. Now, there were some shaky passes. There were at least 2 that I remember that were very close to being pick sixes. But man, I mean, he ended up looking good. He did throw a couple of picks, and what we saw from Bryce Perkins Like, they weren't out of it, and nor should they be, but it just feels like Birmingham has their number. Like, no matter what happens, Birmingham and Skip Holtz and that team finds a way to beat Michigan.
To me, and part of this is just because the Stallions have the most, I would say cachet just in terms of the multi
Sure.
championship wins and kind of all that stuff. But I do feel like I see more mainstream people tweeting about Matt Corral, tweeting about Alex Magoo, covering this as Stallions. So that's great. You want the Stallions to be good. Obviously, this forward field thing, we'll get to all of that. But do the Panthers have any momentum here? I guess just trying to kind of figure out, I don't know, the USFL conference kind of versus XFL here and kind of what we're making. Are the Panthers, weren't they second last year in the division? Like, what do we make of this? And hey, look at this for Mark Cass callback. But do they have upside here, I guess?
Yeah. Oh, I think they do. I mean, I think what's not really to like about Bryce Perkins, don't take anything away from Birmingham's defense, because that defense, we talk about offense all the time. Birmingham's defense is really good. So don't take anything away from that. But I think, what we saw from Bryce Perkins in week 1, and what we saw a little bit in week 2 here, I mean, he's playing a good defense. I think Michigan absolutely has plenty of upside. Now, I dropped them a little bit in my power rankings that will be on altfootball.com here. Greg Parks is putting that together and kind of tallying all our votes. But that's a snapshot of the week. So I think there's plenty of upside. I certainly am not counting out Michigan Panthers right now.
King William, Michigan would have momentum if they stop playing 2 quarterback system. We see that a lot and early on. I mean, even last week, right? They were talking with Nolan about all that. I mean, it's still early. You don't know. And this isn't the NFL where everyone's all right. I don't know. I'm curious your thoughts on that, because I see both sides, and the CFL does this as well.
I can see that. To me, let's look at Manny Wilkins. It felt like the Battlehawks were going to come in with a 2 quarterback system, and it didn't happen because Manny Wilkins continues to play. He's such a dual threat, and he's such a good quarterback that Anthony Becht is not going to take him. He's not going to take him out of the game to run a 2 quarterback system. If Mike Nolan feels that's the way and maybe run some packages, I guess. But I can, like you said, I can see it both ways. This is not in the NFL. They say if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. I believe that to an extent on any level, but I give the Michigan Panthers and the coaches who want to run 2 quarterbacks a little bit of a break here.
Yeah, Mike G, just talking TV ratings in the chat. It's covered that off the top. No, appreciate that. Certainly do, because I know it definitely comes in. I didn't even really, this is just the day that kind of works for John and I, especially the last couple of weeks with me going out on Tuesdays. I would like to do it Tuesday when we have all of the ratings. I just think it makes for a more worthwhile conversation, but we just haven't had time. But luckily, Mike's been able to get at least back-to-back here this week. So we'll see. We'll figure out. I mean, this isn't like a forever thing, but I appreciate John's schedule hopping on here and all of that. The 2 quarterback system, and we could talk through any of these teams or any of that, but it goes to this, what is this league, right? If I'm a coach of a team, am I trying to develop players? Am I trying to win? Am I trying to get the most of my players to the NFL? I would say any coach you ask there, I mean, we know what Coach Beck said a couple of years ago, my goal is to get everyone to the NFL. Well, if you have the option between being, playing the best quarterback to win the championship game, I just feel like you get into this. I would be curious with that, but yeah, I would feel like the 2 quarterback system. Are we trying to develop more of that in an attempt to win? But yeah, then obviously when the game's on the line, you're not gonna. It's hard. It's a hard balance there. Like, what is this league? Do you get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you do walk a line. It's something that all of these coaches, like you said, Anthony Beck, Skip Holtz, it's Bob Stoops, even. It's like, my goal is to develop these players, but where do you draw the line of, I need to develop this guy. I'm going to put him in this tough situation here in crunch time. Are you going to do that and risk a game? I don't think so. Not in the, I mean, this is still a competitive league, especially when you just have 8 teams. So I don't think that so I think coaches do have to kind of figure out, walk in that gray area of, we want to develop, but also, we want to win these games, because if we start winning games and put a good product on the field, you hope that fans will show up and people will watch on television.
Yeah, you kind of get we're living through that right now. The Mariners and Dan Wilson, and we're getting a lot of like, well, let's play some of the guys. We're still early in the season. We're trying to kind of figure out, well, okay, let's pinch hit this guy, but then every time it's bottom of the ninth, and then that guy's back up to bat again. You go, God, I sure wish we wish we could,
Right.
excuse me, wish we could have gone back on that. I'm sorry. I might disappear off camera here for a second to just blow my nose just because it's so disgusting. John, do you want to let's go through this just super quick? We'll finish the game here, but yeah, the 10,000 in Michigan, and then Abdul below here. I always have that as well. Just kind of the conference breakdowns and the outliers with St. Louis and otherwise, but. I mean, if they're just going to lie about, I mean, it's not a lie. It's distributed tickets, but I mean, there's not. So that's just the number now. I'm not going to freak out about that, but I'm also not going to like count these as the win here because DC 13,000 is normally closer to 17, 18. So like there's never been 10,000 souls ever in Michigan when any of these teams have played. So if you want to, maybe they're sending them to a school and saying, here's 5,000, here's 500 tickets for your students to go. And then they go, well, see, we distributed the tickets. It depends on that. I don't know. Curious your thoughts on that. Like that feels like an outlier high where it almost feels like that's disingenuous. And I'm going to go blow my nose. I'll be right back.
Okay. No, I'll agree with you. And, I've seen in St. Louis, they said they were 32,000 people there, but we saw a lot of empty seats that were, in that lower bowl. I remember, I've gone to a couple of St. Louis games, especially last year. And when they said there were 32, 33,000, whatever, the whole lower bowl, you didn't see a lot of empty seats. So, but I think this does happen, to Reed's point. A lot of the times these are distributed tickets. These are sponsors who are probably given a block of tickets as part of some kind of sponsorship opportunity. So if the Markcast is sponsoring, the Memphis Showboats, and they say a part of this sponsorship deal is you're going to get signage and you're going to get this, you're going to get an in-game announcement, but you're also going to get a block of 500 tickets. Who's going to use those 500 tickets? I mean, you and I have both worked for TV stations. How many times somebody will say, hey, we, as part of our sponsorship deal, they've given us these 30 tickets or whatever. Anybody want them? And then you'll see them like, back in the physical ticket day, they'd be posted up on a bulletin board somewhere. So that's tickets distributed versus people who actually show up. And I think that's what you see a lot of the times when you see some of these numbers, when the eyeball test tells you that wasn't what was in the stadium that night.
Yeah, and so I don't want to live on this, but my feeling on at least on the Michigan now is if that's how they're going to play that, I'm just not going to freak out every week of like, wow, that's really great. And I see comments in the chat, hey, it's like they're on the rise. Okay, I mean that's what they want, right? The perception's reality. It annoys me where like that's just accepted now, right? Like it's just accepted. Like, oh, it's 10,000, it's 10,000. We said so. It's like the chalk top thing. Anything else? So Stallions looking great, right? Obviously Panthers. Anything else? Takeaways of that of the Friday night game? I'll pull up something else here.
Well, the one thing I'm going to be interested in to see like. If Alex Magoo is not as injured, he said that his shoulder came out of socket. Now, whether that was really the case or not, I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see what kind of quarterback decision, as we say 2 weeks in a row now, it'll be interesting to see the quarterback decision that Skip Holtz makes.
Well, and how bad do you gauge that injury, I guess? Is that a long-term concern?
Well, as they said during the broadcast, and you've seen it a lot on every level of football, sometimes you have to save players for themselves. They'll be, I'm fine, I can go in there. But as Skip Holtz kept telling Alex Magoo, just be smart with this thing. And I know it seemed like he was pretty upset that he wasn't back in the game. So if a player tells you that his shoulder popped out of socket, I'm not sure if you're a head coach, you really want to hear that and say, yeah, I'm going to put you back in because it's a pretty important game we're playing right here.
No, I totally get that. Protecting players from themselves. We see that. I said even in baseball with all that. Abdul just says, "Joker, they need to get a lot more sponsors." I like that. Yeah, can we
and more blocks of tickets, right?
Well, no, like to your point, we used to, when I worked at the Fox station here, we would get tickets to the Puyallup Fair and they go, here's 100 tickets, right? For family and friends. And they're good, and maybe for the UFL, it's this game or that game, whatever. But, they count that as, hey, these are tickets out, whatever, go into all that. All right. So the one Saturday game, and this is just my thing. I'm sitting around here all day. We have Dorothy, my wife's school auction, her alma mater from high school. Is it still your alma mater if it's just your high school?
I would think so, sure.
Right. Okay. Your alma mater. going. So I'm like, of course, I'm sitting around here all day, nothing to do. But of course, game's on at 5. Caught up here later. Defenders 2-0 here, big time. Showboats fall again, right? Ken's back, everything. We're kind of figuring all that out. What do you make of the Showboats here?
Like I said earlier, I think that this is a much improved team. Is there such thing as the best 0-2 team? I don't know. But you look at like EJ Perry there, like that, his connection with Jonathan Adams. I think Jonathan Adams ended up with, let me see, about 128, 130 yards receiving here out of the 205. So that connection is working. I like EJ Perry in this, in this system. DC, they looked a little rough. If I'm a DC Defenders fan, I'm a little worried about playing at the Battlehawks this weekend because even though they won the game, they won against a winless now, 0-2 team, but still a much improved Memphis Showboats team. And I think Ken Wisenhunt coming back is probably maybe, the waters were a little choppy there in the first game, and you understand because it seems so sudden. But man, I just really feel like, if they've got the talent to make this with a better showing this year. And I think we saw a little bit of that at DC.
Well, it's interesting here, right? Obviously, you had in Ken's back, we had the battle of the two teams here with the head coaches, and DC is such a different situation where a lot of that. And I think they'll be leaving. I'm curious what DC is after the season with all of that, but I'm curious. And we'll talk attendance, but DC was so bad last year. I wonder, like, fan apathy with that, and then now where they're back, DC is a great franchise. I think, one of the temple franchises for the UFL. So you want them to be good that way. You say you're concerned about them going into Birmingham. I don't know. I think you need DC to be hot from the XFL side, because certainly Birmingham, I mean, you don't have a lot of other options here with the San Antonio and everybody else.
When DC goes into St. Louis this coming weekend, I believe that's what it is. Yeah. So if I'm a DC fan, I'm going to be a little worried about that because it just felt like that offense was stagnant. And again, I don't think Ken Wisenhunt is into moral victories, but to me, he got one, and that team's just going to improve.
How is our boy Jordan looking here? I feel like. I'd be curious how long he continues to do this journey along with Luis Perez. We saw McCarron get out. When do we kind of see this OG wave of these players kind of age out?
Well, I would have said that, I made the argument for Luis Perez, you don't write a book if you're continuing to play. But when he talked about, he talked with his family at the book event, the virtual book event. He said, as long as I continue to feel good, my family's, and I'm playing at the level I want to play, I want to continue. And he had a lot of great things to say about the UFL. So I don't know if I'm ready to write off some, as you said, the OG quarterbacks yet. But to me, if DC has another, weak season, which they've looked good, but it seems like they've got, their offense back together here, especially with Abram Smith coming back. But I think if it's another mediocre season and kind of with the coaching changes and things that happened, you do wonder if Jordan Thomas was like, okay, this might be enough.
Yeah. Did you like too? I saw Luis Perez got a Tom Pelissero. I can't even talk. My Tom Pelissero plug for his book on Twitter.
Oh, sure. So
I couldn't believe that we had Tom Pelissero there giving. It just goes back to I know we're talking DC now, but this Luis Perez thing and being the face of the league. We have a rock and roll. I see your super chat. I'll post that up here in a minute where we're done with the game. So you say Memphis looks the best 0-2.
Yeah. Is there such thing as a good 0-2 team?
I think so. I mean,
Bill
go ahead.
I was like, Bill Parcells, he always says, his quote about your record is what it, is about he had some great quote about that. Your record is what you are, but still it's if there's a good 0-2 team, I'm going to say it's Memphis.
So we almost won that game. It's kind of like, well, that was how I felt about like the Commanders last year. Cause like we almost, we made it. It was like we almost beat, we didn't almost beat, but we couldn't beat the Eagles. And it's like, well, you had a failure of a season. It didn't matter. No one cares. Like, right. Okay. Like I thought, okay. So it's kind of always interesting to see. Or like, not that, like Mike Mitchell talks a lot with, the Jets and how things would be different if games that would differ for Aaron Rodgers. Is very true. Like I think both are very valid and very, very opposite as well. In terms of attendance here, speaking of Mike Mitchell, and then obviously I think the Jets would be wildly different if certain things had gone, if certain games had gone different with all of that. 13,000. What was it around that last week? I think generally we're closer to 17 last year. Feels like that might kind of be the watermark there. Saturday night, I mean, it had to be a decent time in DC that way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think it was 13,000. It certainly did. Even the Beer Snake area wasn't totally full. Now they were able to get the Beer Snake up there. I don't know if you've heard of the Beer Snake, but it's something they do in DC. Reed.
Remember, I love the Beer Snake. But
that's right. You said you loved it. You want even more of it. I think as we start to move along, I'm interested to see what the DC turnout will be for a couple of reasons, and one being what you just mentioned about people liking the Commanders again. I think that was what made St. Louis so strong, is because they hated Stan Kroenke for leaving, and it was kind of the middle finger. They're like, hey, look at this, we have this good team and we don't need you, and we're going to show up and support this team. And I think there was also kind of the same thing to Daniel Snyder at the time, is we're going to show up. And the good thing is DC was good. There was a reason to show up for that. So I just wonder if what you said about fan apathy might happen, especially if they're not going to be up to par. Now, again, we're talking about a 2-0 team. So I'm not ready. I'm not going to write them out now.
Yeah. The thing, and I do, like I said, I think for my money, and I have been to St. Louis. I've not been to St. Louis when the Battlehawks were playing in the stadium. I would imagine that would be number one.
It's great.
My number one. Oh, and it was actually. So yeah. So John Lewis talking Battlehawks. Speaking of which, Kevin Seifert. Yeah. Let's get rid of this. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I got an email this morning from friend of the program, Kevin Seifert, ESPN, and he goes, "What's the deal with these Battlehawks? I want to talk to someone about going to the Battlehawks games." I said, "Well, do you want someone crazy or do you want someone sane?" And I will not tell you what he said, but then I said, "You should talk."
I don't know what he said.
John Lewis. So hopefully John Lewis is going to be quoted, hopefully in an upcoming article here from Kevin Seifert. So I thought that was great. Sorry, side note tangent for all that, but I did.
And I appreciate you passing his info. We had a great conversation. I love the work that he does, and I told him so. He's one of the national reporters who gets it. He's broken a lot of news, certainly about the union issues and all, but he also covers the league, I think, in a way that legitimately covering this league.
It does pay dividends to be like friends with me sometimes. Like I do know people and like things and gets like, it's not all like people. Read. Like imagine that. I mean, like it just kills me with all that. But anyway, speaking of, to me, the best environment I've ever been to is in DC. So I want that to be successful. I've been there for kickoff. I've been there for playoff games. I've done 2 or 3 games there. I really like it. But I am tired of, wait, John, I see it. The Beer Snake it's like it's every game now. Yeah. It was fine week 1. It was like, you don't need to do it every time. So there's 12, 13,000 ever, but I don't need it every time ad nauseum. And the novelty of that is worn.
Yeah. But you know what? It probably has to us, but when you're trying to bring in casual viewers, like that's easy. That's low hanging fruit, because there would be people who are watching, who this is the first time they've seen a UFL game or a DC game. And they're like, what is going on in the end zone? So you don't want, as we've worked in television. We are there. Television is there to answer viewers' questions. They're not there to make them, ask those questions and leave them unanswered. So, no, I get it. I think for all of us, hardcore sickos that watch every minute of every game, it does get a little old, but I mean, I get it. Again, it's low hanging fruit. Luis Perez, played D2 ball, and never played in high school. And I mean, but they're
He
good
bowled.
stories.
John, he
He
bowled,
bowls.
and his family comes on the field and helps him run routes.
Right.
Okay, like
But
I love Luis Perez. He is
yeah,
the least
I do too,
charismatic
yes.
person in the world. Can we please? It's like every week on here. Our Arlington Renegades. Would you like to talk to Bob Stoops and Luis Perez? It's like I would like to talk to anybody else. I would like to. Can we talk to anybody else? Anybody else on this? All right, we have a ton of comments here built up. We're going to talk through all these. A lot of actually going ones, and then we'll get to the other two games and my rant. Rock and roll. Cookus better in San Antonio or Detroit? Where is he? He's with Birmingham now.
He's the third stringer in Birmingham, and that signing still confuses me to this hour.
Hey, big brain on Reed here. So, I mean, where would you put him? Detroit, or we'll talk San Antonio coming up here.
Well, I'm not ready to count out Kellen Mond yet in San Antonio. I mean, I think that's still kind of trying to gel. It hasn't quite gelled just yet. I mean, I don't know that you want to, put him with the Panthers yet. I mean, I mean that quarterback situation seems okay right now. I think there are places for him. Like, wouldn't you like to see him in Houston? He might not like to see him in Houston. So I don't know. But for him to be in Birmingham, I'm still trying to figure out on that one. But if I had to choose, to answer the question, if I had to choose between those, I mean, I would probably say San Antonio just because that they're struggling so much right now.
I'll never forgive the USFL for making Case Cookus get married in a walking boot because he got injured during the championship game. As someone that has filmed weddings with grooms in walking boots, that is hard. I've had brides that couldn't walk. I've had grooms that couldn't walk. John, I had a bride. She had to be carried down to our first local location, and then 8 hours later she is on the dance floor hammered, just like I go, that girl is going to be on a stretcher tomorrow on the stretcher. Anyway, yes, I agree with that. Scott, it's like, is it Scott Steiner? Scott Stahl. DC seems stagnant. St. Louis, however they get some calls, in my opinion. Him's talking about, Ford Field. Greg, I know Gregory. I saw your comment. Gregory was there. He's always we met Gregory in St. Louis, all that. But here, this was a good one. Leon, keep doing this show. Big need for non-fanboys.
You're the opposite of a fanboy.
Well, the different at this point, my life is not affected by the UFL positively or negatively. Yeah. So you have a lot of people that are riding on this to be whatever, players and coaches and fans and media people, like everybody. And like, it's affecting me less and less every year. It has no effect on me anymore. I want to do the show because I like talking to John and watching and support. But so yeah, I'll just say it like I see it. I don't go to the games right now. I don't need to worry about getting credit. Like I don't have, does that make sense, John?
No, it does. I mean,
like if my livelihood relied on the UFL, what are we doing here?
Well, I think, and we see this with, some of the college sport, football and basketball sites where, they're dedicated to that team. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're not going to get honest coverage. No. You're not going to get, unbiased coverage. Now, some of us, I've got a St. Louis shirt on, so I mean, I can't say I'm unbiased, but there's no I hate this team or I like this team. And I don't think that we should want to really sugarcoat things because you want to be honest with the fans. And I think that's what, we try to do. And I know you do. You want to be like, let's cover this. Yes. Do we enjoy it? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I sit here every weekend and watch these games and read about it during the week. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say like, oh, well, there really were 32,000 fans, stop lying about this. Let's be honest about TV ratings and those kinds of things. Some people will tell you, hey, stop whining, just enjoy the stuff. But that's you're going to get whining from us. It's just what happens.
Yeah, it's just what it is. And Pat here says he's waiting for lawn read. I think that means outdoor. But John, you do get the other side of my living room today because normally I'm set up on the other side of the dining table, but I'm packing, so you can see the other side of our living room. So there you go.
Changing it up.
Yeah, I'm not a believer in Teamu for the defenders. Yeah. Again, I'm just curious with these guys because players age and I mean especially Perez and stuff. It's been forever and all through all of these. It just kills me with all that stuff. Okay, and then let's get anything else with all that.
But I will say with Luis Perez, remember he had his best season ever statistically last year, even though that team was mediocre at best. He continues to play at a high level. Now, the game, the game with Houston, it wasn't a great game, but when you could see him start to heat up, and he is one of the, I mean, after he's played so much, he is one of the most comfortable looking quarterbacks in the pocket. And like his field command, there's a veteran presence there. I mean, he's obviously a veteran. I mean, I think he played in the original USFL. It seems like he's been around for so long, but I just love to watch him play. And, that's when you want to see a guy like that succeed and get back to that championship game. Because he even said, like, we talked about it before, when he was with that clown show in Vegas, he thought about retiring because it was so bad and he got benched and none of that made sense. Then he goes to Arlington and win the XFL championship. I mean, what a story.
Then just last thing on here is, excuse me, rock and roll. I asked because Cook is legit starting. I don't know about putting butts in. I love Case. I love Mr. Cookus.
I think he's a legitimate starter. There's no question.
Do you think he's a draw? I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm asking.
I mean, I don't know if he's probably not, because what you're drawing to these games you're trying to draw casual fans. Yeah. You're not trying to draw, again, us hardcore sickos. We're going to go and we're going to watch anyway. I don't know if he's a draw, but he is a legitimate starter. That's why I said, like, I just can't understand him going to Birmingham. Like, what? Like, why? I just, you had Alex Magoo coming back, who is a veteran. You had Matt Corral, who had been in the system already a year. And if there was something to learn, you think he would learn from Alex Magoo. But I mean, Skip Holtz, I'll never question him. How can you?
And then the last thing, Andy checking in, the professor. I haven't talked to Andy like one-on-one in a long time, but Andy's been good. He's been hiking all around with his lady, and I've been seeing lots of photos. I saw a stunning photo of them in a cave somewhere that looked awesome, and I just thought there's no more person happier for me for him right now than me. Andrew, just for seeing him with that. So let's talk this. This game, the Renegades Roughnecks game, this was the game, of course, this was my treadmill game. I'm on the treadmill. I'm locked in, as you can tell from you can always tell what game is Reed's treadmill game because of his incessant tweeting and texting. But Anthony was at this one. I had to pay for parking to go, and I don't know if there's ever food or water there. And I think there was a leaking in the press box, but we're really worried about who gets credentialed. I'm here. Wow, there we go. I pushed my button and I triggered my YouTube thing. I had sports playing another. This game, again, John. So I'm watching this game. I mean, I don't how do I show my mom is a diehard football fan. Watches college football, every college football. Watches, the team, all the NFL, everything. I've even got her to watch the Grey Cup and stuff. How do I put this on? For him to watch, for her to watch.
You could say, watch this punter because he's great. And, Marquette King had a, 70-yard punt. So it was like, hey, that was cool. I mean, you had a tush push. Like they brought that into the offense. I mean, here, I'm doing exactly what I said I wouldn't do. I'm not trying to, I'm trying to sugarcoat this and try to sell it to you. Mm-hmm. There was nothing to sell here. This just, Anthony Brown, he doesn't look comfortable back there. Nolan Henderson, he was in there briefly and tried, but, again, Luis Perez just in there, running the show when he started to heat up. But it's like, it took, I think it was about 10 and a half minutes left to go in the game before they got, before he threw a touchdown. So it was a tough watch. Like I said, it was a televised abortion there for about 3 quarters.
I do love, though, if you want to have a glowing comment from me, and then Tisdale, I do see your comment here we'll bring up. He is like a coach on the field, right? And so obviously that is, we've talked through all this and what's his exit strategy and all that. I mean, I see that 1,000,000%. I think he's going to be great. I think he's so passionate. And I think that all of this is, I don't know where he ends up at some college somewhere or at a high school or whatever he ends up doing or working in the UFL. I just think his command and ability to kind of know that, but I do think the athleticism and kind of that is aging out on that. Any thoughts on that before I go to these other comments?
No, I think he's going to be a coach sometime. I was able to ask him about what advice does he give to some of the younger quarterbacks, not just with the Renegades, because they're all there together, and I think a lot of them kind of get together and talk. And the advice he started to talk about giving them, it's like, this sounds like a coach. This sounds like a coach giving advice to, to up and comers. So I think that is a lot of his value. I don't think he's finished yet. And I think that, we might see Arlington keep, on the rise here for a while.
John, does Curtis Johnson deserve to have a job today, Monday, April 7th, as the head coach of a football team?
If you're sitting across from Curtis Johnson and ask him that question to his face, what would he tell you? What argument could he make?
I can't imagine one.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not one of those fire the guy. This guy should lose his job.
Yeah.
I've never been one of those. Well, maybe with the Seahawks a few times, but for Curtis Johnson, it's just I don't know what argument anyone can make outside of that locker room, and there would probably be some inside the locker room that would make the argument against it. I just it's no good. It's not getting better, and it's not been good for a while.
No, DeMarcus here has Jang John, a televised abortion. Tell us how you really feel.
How I really felt.
It was rough. It was rough.
Yeah.
The other comment here, Reed, narrative is trending towards a hitter. I say the opposite. No, I mean this. My opinions and thoughts are well documented at this point, but I've actually gotten more DMs and calls and texts this season saying, "Man, you were right." I'm not even again, I don't care. I don't want to be right. I want everyone to succeed. I want it to work, but I point out when things don't work. I don't want it to fail. But I am seeing a lot more comments, like I said, coming to me of, yeah, you're right. Or wow, okay. And so, take it for what it is. Again, I mean, there's no reason to go to this show anymore expecting me to say anything different. I mean, I feel like my opinions and thoughts are well known, but that's where I'm at. But I have been getting a lot of that. And even from people that used to be with the league that I've had conversations, they're like, yep. So anyway, any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, it's too bad because we are all rooting for this league. That's why we come on here every Monday and talk about it. It's not to come over here and be the hater show. But you're right. There are a lot of things, you don't want a ton of fan service because there are hardcores, like I said, that will watch, but you do need to listen to the fans, I think and you need to listen to the independent media that cover this and just say, let's have a relationship here. Tell us, what can we do better? Let's have a round table where we can, sit and talk. It's and not with just us. I mean, with fans. I mean, to me, that would go a long way into fostering some good things instead of a lot of us, complaining because we continue to see this over and over and over again.
Denzel Reed have some opinions as the same opinions. I thought I was getting an invite. Come on, I say, hey, let me know. But yeah, same opinions. So there you go. Same opinions. Last thing on this, Arlington 9,500 for that. That's pretty in line with kind of what they put out there. I mean, and
it was April, yes, but it was 44 degrees in Arlington. So how many people are you going? I mean, they were showing people that it looked like they were, Green Bay in a December playoff game or something. It was it looked brutal there. No, I mean, obviously it wasn't snowing, but it was really cold.
Anything else of that? I'll pull up the last game here, and then we should be good time here. Almost, we'll get down to the top of the hour. I got a shower. We're gonna.
Let me say. I'm sorry. Let me say one positive thing.
Yes.
When Anthony Brown started to play that up tempo last drive, that's when he looked comfortable to me. For 3.5 quarters, he did not. So maybe that's something that they really need to look at and say, hey, this is, let's maybe try to do a little bit more of this.
Let me pull up. I want to see. Well, I'll pull it up here next time we're talking. I did have an email saved here. I was all excited about, and then maybe I deleted it already. Let's go here. So we finally get, and I will be curious the freaking TV ratings for this one when they come out tomorrow. The FS1 that was delayed because of NASCAR, and it was on FS2, and I saw people well, we're not getting post game comments from the racers because of the. I'm like. Okay. Battlehawks 2-0 here. Now, the Brahmas are my team. I have heard they are awful, not looking great this year. What do you make of this?
That is San Antonio is not the worst team, but this week, the snapshot of this week, St. Louis is the best team in the league. They are clicking on all cylinders, offensively, defensively. Our man Pat Ruffino had boots on the ground down there. He could tell you more. But just, from what I was watching on Sunday, it's like, I mean, they were just out there, doing work. And a pro tip for you here: if you watch on these Fox games on the Fox Sports app, you can, like, there was a whole pregame and everything on there. So I don't know if that was the case, because there was about 5 minutes left to go, and like 6:25 Eastern time, and I turned it on, and there's 5 laps to go in this race, and I'm like, well, this is obviously not going to start on time. And you had texted me to tell, like, it was going to be on FS2. I just went to the app, and it was like watching, the whole game. So I like, again, I'm on this Manny Wilkins train of being such a dual threat and like a model of efficiency when he's playing. I don't know what's going on with San Antonio. Kellen Mond, again, it's not gelling with him. Again, it's only been 2 games. I think AJ Smith is still, it's not like AJ Smith forgot how to coach or Wade Phillips forgot how to coach. It's going to come together, but when you're, in a 10-week season, you're a third of the way through here almost. So you got to get it started here. You're a fifth of the way right now.
Yeah, I saw Pat, yes, and make sure you check out Pat's Player of the Week article right now on allfootball.com. And then Pat is going to have his quarterback, video coming out. I think he said tomorrow when he posted that stuff on there. And then the other thing was Pat posted a comment in our chat. I think it was Wade Phillips and his wife, like, hanging out on the sidelines before the game. Wade, maybe you should be coaching up your guys. Okay. Maybe, maybe miss, maybe we can take a minute there. Chop got salt. San Antonio's problem is O-line. Mon has no time to, can't really evaluate him. And I agree with you. I have heard, like Manny Wilkins is, I think Seth, a friend, everyone knows Seth, Seth Lessons. I think he calls him the Jane Daniels of the UFL. Now, obviously we're Commanders fans and all that, but is this, I don't know. I don't know what the Brahmas do here, right? And let's, I guess, get any other thoughts on that, because I want to pull up something here and have a discussion. Yeah,
I mean, what do they do right now? I don't think you bench Mon. I mean, as the commenter said there, it's like it's an O-line problem, and like, let's get a ground game and give him some time, get some blocking in there, because it is hard to evaluate him. But I still think, like, something's just not gelling yet.
Last thing here, I want to look at just the standings real quick. Hey, John, if you look at this, we got 6 wins for the XFL side and only 2 wins for the USFL. Interesting here. But no, I mean, San Antonio looks really bad, right? Roughnecks look really bad.
Yeah.
You say Showboats are on the rise. How do you feel there, Snapshot? I mean, 8 teams, and it's hard, and this is impossible. And even the CFL, we do all this stuff and power ranks and everything. I know we have to do all that, but just, you got 3 pretty good teams in the XFL. I think you have 1 really good team in the USFL. Do you have a couple? How do you kind of feel about these 8?
Yeah, I mean, let's not count out the Panthers yet. We're 2 weeks in. I mean, we counted out the Roughnecks before the season started, and so far we're on track for that. Showboats on the rise. But doesn't it feel like, I don't want to go against Skip Holtz. I mean, why would you again? But doesn't it feel like the UFL champion is going to come out of the XFL conference?
Maybe. Sorry, I was reading this email.
You weren't listening to me. It's like, it's like my wife.
I'm going to pull this up.
No, I just say it just feels like the UFL champion is going to come out of the XFL conference.
Going up against Birmingham, how the heck out?
Right. It just feels like Birmingham, again, I'm not counting out the Panthers, but it feels like Birmingham is going to be your USFL conference, champion. And one of those 3 teams out of there in the XFL is going to be the other one in the, not the Brahmas, but it feels like, and they'll be the champion to 2 weeks in.
Oh, sorry, my internet glitched there for a minute. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's a couple of just comments here, and then I have this. I was listening. I was screenshotting one of the things I did. Scott here on Twitter. Scott Coach Bechter has really improved as a head coach. Chop here says the team that looks bad on the field is the Roughnecks. USFL conference is embarrassing. But it's very similar to last year. I mean, you have a lot of this. David, longtime listener, love this league, but the quality of play has been trash. And then Jenna is checking in here. One thing before my little rant before we get out, and what was interesting to me is we've been talking a lot about the kickoff, right? And obviously, we've had the whole thing, and they didn't do the kickoff, and then whatever. And so now we're doing the kickoff, right? Well, Fourth and Long here, who's a longtime friend of the show and has written in and does all this.
Makes some great comments on here
all the time. And I will say this, I read everything. I don't respond to hardly anything, but I read every single YouTube comment. I just don't respond to any, but I read it all.
Yeah.
So fourth in line, anyone that writes in, I just don't have the time at the moment. There's more to this, but he's talking about the kickoff, right? And how, we talked a lot about how, spoiler alert, the kickoff they used last year, artificially inflated field position because they kicked so far back and all this. We know. So like, is this, offenses down and first downs, kind of all the, is it related to that, John? Have we now, should the UFL be using the NFL kickoff?
Yeah, I'm not ready to go ahead and just throw out the rule book just yet, but I mean, there's some really good points in here for sure. Yeah, let's let the cake bake a little bit here before we start throwing things out.
All right. Last thing for me today, and we'll figure out where this is going. I had interactions over the weekend with the league. This is my life, and this is Reed rant now. John, do you have any other football thoughts, I guess, before we get to the rant? Because we'll get out.
No. Go ahead.
Crazy busy week for me. Flew across the country, flew back, worked at Amazon. I wake up Saturday morning. I have an hour to build the thumbnail for John and I to do the show. I have an email from one of the teams, and I see photos to use. And I see some photos uploaded to the media drive. And so I look for other teams. I don't see any other team photos up there. So I emailed the league. I go, hey, this is great. Like, are we going to get more photos or other teams? I don't want to throw you guys. I'm not trying to throw any specific teams on the bus. I go, we only have one of 8 teams photos. So can we kind of get that going? Well, what I hear back is, well, actually, no, you're not allowed to use any. And that everything from the league is going, supposedly, I'm waiting on clarification, going through Getty Imaging now. Which, if you're someone that writes about this league that uses photos in your articles, unless you're physically going to the games, to me, that is an issue and something that is counterintuitive to the content creators that are working on this. I'm trying to get more clarification. I followed up again today because, like I said, it's not just for me; it's for the people that work on our side and other sites. But to me, it speaks to like. I was going to do my rant on Saturday online, but it just speaks to reason 862 why like the UFL doesn't understand who is covering these leagues. Because for those who don't know, to license a single Getty image, I think is, John and I looked it up, is $350 for a medium size image. So I have concerns, and if my concerns aren't alleviated, I might be dialing out of doing the podcast. We'll see, but I'm very frustrated right now by the league continuing to seemingly minimize independent content creators, because this doesn't just affect us.
Yeah, I agree. It's when we touched on it earlier, the independent media, like, the things we do, we're not making a ton of money on this. We're not making any money on this. Yeah. We do it because we love the league. We do it because it's kind of a community that we're in. And I don't understand why anyone would try to put obstacles into that. Now, if we were making like $1,000, and doing all this, every time we posted an article or did anything or posted a video, and then maybe I could see like, well, the UFL saying you're not going to use us just to make money, and then, say what you want to say about us, whatever. There have been times where I've reached out to the league and didn't hear anything back. There have been other times where I've reached out to the league and got an email directly back. There are and what some people might not know is every team has a different PR person. Yeah. And I've had, mixed results. The good results that I've had have been great. That some are super responsive, and, I just don't understand why a league would want to put obstacles, not just for us, but for any. I mean, everybody watching this knows that there are several other outlets who do this same thing.
Well, I'd say it affects everyone. It affects News Hub and Newsroom, and if UFL Board was still here, it affects the Alt Football Network people.
Yes,
you're welcome for that name, but like it's, I mean, like, okay,
let it go.
But it affects everybody,
yes.
and so that is my concern: is if we're content creators working on this, and right. you need to go through Getty the license. I've had to pay images before because of people, and we didn't. For no fault of any, I mean, just my fault. I mean, but it's fine. I'm not going to pay $350 an image to write about the Roughnecks Renegades game from Sunday, or to post about it, or to make it like, I can't do that. I can't do that. So we'll see. I emailed again today. The league's seemingly just, it kind of ignores problems. So that's goes also to my frustrations, like with the attendance and everything else, is if we're at a point where it's, well, what we say is that's just it. Okay, well then I might step aside. So we'll see. I'm going to Orlando this week. Maybe the sunshine will make me feel better, but we'll see. I'm kind of TBD. I'm really annoyed, and people that know me a long time, I've been sitting on this since Saturday, so I'm kind of working through it.
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, my plan is to go to Memphis. I mean, who doesn't want to see, Showboats and Roughnecks? But my plan is to go to Memphis this weekend. Immediately, I put in for credentials. Let the PR guy down there know, Andy, who has been awesome to work with. I mean, he's great. But yeah, I mean, I'm not getting paid to do that. I'm paying to do that, and it's my own money. So, because I want to. I mean, we. As someone who is, going to be turned 54 this year, I remember, how these leagues sprout up and then they die. And it's like, I don't want that for the UFL, but I'm going to take advantage to try to see a lot of these games as much as I can in person. But yeah, I just really wish that there was as I said earlier, a round table for the league to listen to fans and have like a true listening session. Again, for fans, for independent media, listen, whatever your politics are, and this is not political. I'm just saying, like, we have seen how influential, like, the non-mainstream legacy media has been, politically. I'm not putting ourselves to that level. I mean, we're not the Joe Rogan show here or whatever, or Pod Save America. But what we are is like independent media who, like, we just want to tell the story of the league. That is when I started doing the YouTube and started to do, any of the content, and then, joined you. It's like, I just want to tell the stories of some of these players and some of these teams and some of these leagues. And, for obstacles to be put in the way is kind of confusing.
Yeah. Last thing for me, I just, what was I've totally even lost my train of thought on all this. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, they're stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. And then we'll get out of here because I'm just rambling. Like, I come on here and I'm like, I am a normal person in my everyday life, and like, I run a business. So like, I've emailed and explained, like, hey, did you know that this is why, and this is what it costs, and these are alternatives, and this is like, this is not just me being like, screw you, like,
right.
This is a thing, but this affects everybody. And I get tired of that. I was the one that advocated for fans to go, or for the independent media, one of many, to go be able to cover the games. And then people got to cover the games. And then I go, Reed's complaining. And I go, well, that got you to cover the games. So welcome for that. Anyway, John, I appreciate it, guys. Like and subscribe. We'll see, but just support your content creators. Support John Lewis Sports. Use his, was it JLS Sports on, what is it, John?
Get another plug. Royal Retros, use JLS at checkout, get 10% off your order. And thank you, David. I appreciate you liking my microphone.
There you go.
It changes colors, but I can't figure it out.
Appreciate everyone. I'm going to go heckle Jose Altuve here in left field for the Mariners tonight. I was going to say, John, it is pouring rain here today. Monday, Mariners are 3-7. Fans go to the games. Go to the games. So I hear all this all the time. And wow, it was the windstorm. Fans, it is pouring. Fans go to the games. I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.